Despite first appearing in Tales of Suspense number 52 in 1964 and making frequent appearances as a major character over the next 3 decades, it wouldn't be until 1999 that Black Widow, aka Natasha Romanov, finally got her first solo series, a 3-issue limited series by Devin Grayson and J.G. Jones, aptly titled Black Widow. This would be followed by 3 more limited series in the early 2000s, and I figured I'd give a little look back at her first solo outings to see how they hold up, with a little ranking at the end for fun. The first series opens with Black Widow being sent after a biotoxin in the Middle Eastern country of Rapistan that gives people unlimited power for 2 minutes before killing them. She is supposedly assisting both the American and Russian militaries who want the biotoxin for themselves. Black Widow is also followed by Yelena Belova, a member of Black Widow's training program that wants to kill Natasha and take her place as Black Widow. Natasha finally escapes and has a talk with her boyfriend Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, about what makes her special, and he says that her uniqueness comes from her loyalty and trustworthiness, especially in regards to the morality of her work. Natasha thanks him, then saves the scientist who made the biotoxin and forces him to make an antidote. Yelena finally catches up to Natasha and tries again to kill her, but Natasha stops her and tells Yelena to consider what makes her special and why she fights. Natasha is then unceremoniously shot and killed by S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Oops. Yelena claims the title of Black Widow and takes the fight to the Rapistanians, but ends up getting captured. Natasha sneaks in and administers a vaccine to all the soldiers, but ends up revealing her secret when the American and Russian military show up. The Rapistanian general uses his biotoxins on his own men, but it only affects himself and Natasha kills him, reclaiming the title of Black Widow. Yelena goes to kill Black Widow again, but Black Widow tells her that she won't, and Yelena's drive to surpass the Black Widows and makes her special. Black Widow leaves the American military, and Yelena escapes using a trick she picked up from Black Widow earlier in the series. All in all, it's not a bad storyline about identity and what causes one to fight. The next 3-issue mini is from 2001, again written by Grayson with the assistance of Greg Rucka and drawn by Scott Hampton. The first issue opens with Natasha swapping bodies with Yelena through super soldier plastic surgery, or something, then working with Fury, S.H.I.E.L.D. and a reluctant Daredevil to convince Yelena that she is Natasha. Natasha then attacks Yelena and pretends to shoot her, meaning that we have 2 issues out of 4 that end on a cliffhanger. Of Natasha dying, that turns out to be her faking her own death. Good job. Yeah, Natasha's still alive, and she gets the location of some nukes from Yelena's contact, Stelenkio, and while Yelena continues to go through a crisis, Daredevil tells her that she is in reality Yelena Belova. Everyone then stops Stelenkio from stealing the nukes, and Yelena kicks his butt. Then Yelena and Natasha have a climactic confrontation about Natasha stealing Yelena's life and soul. Natasha explains that she wanted Yelena to see that playing spy isn't all fun and games like being a superhero, but Yelena just counters that she's sadistic, which I kind of agree with. We then get a nice 4-panel shadow shot where Yelena almost shoots Natasha, and then Yelena leaves for Russia with maybe a new outlook on life. This miniseries just felt convoluted and pointless and not as good as the first one, presenting Natasha in a really negative light and not being long enough to get any real impact out of the switch. The gritty art was on point and perfect, though. Following that is a 2004 miniseries that actually has 6 issues, this time written by Richard K. Morgan and drawn by Bill Sienkiewicz. This series actually sets itself up to be good, opening with a series of murders and a now retired Natasha almost getting killed by a KGB agent before she kicks his butt and leaves him for dead. She teams up with her old military friend Phil to investigate and is tailed by 2 agents from North and Insert, 2 American Black Ops agencies, as well as some Russian officials. They also save a lady from being raped by some truckers. The trail leads them to Alabama, where a former KGB agent has been murdered. So Natasha and Phil sneak into her house to investigate and find her with military-grade painkillers and something called Medusagen. They call him the lady's military boyfriend, who reveals that he got her the painkillers. They are then attacked by Northmen, who kill the boyfriend, but are killed by Natasha and Phil, although Natasha is shot and seemingly dies, meaning every series so far is a cliffhanger like this. Issue 3 opens with another former Black Widow in a Russian field relating to the Red Room, where she gets trained and shot. Meanwhile, Natasha and Phil track down some other guy who Natasha makes give her more information. He ends up killing himself, so they track down another target who Natasha gets more info out of, revealing a connection between Medusagen, the Russian government, and the cosmetics company Gynecon. So Natasha heads off to Moscow, ending the issue on a shot of the dead Black Widow. No, and Fury refuses to give any help to the North people, since they don't deserve it. So Natasha heads over to Moscow, where she meets up with some old guy who used to run the Red Room program, who reveals that all of Natasha's old memories are lies given to her by the Red Room. And thinking about them makes her nauseous, which means she's basically as Wolverine's backstory now. The man takes her to the Red Room base and Natasha breaks in. There she meets some old lady who used to run the Red Room and is stoked that the Black Widows are coming home. Natasha accuses her of murdering all the Black Widows, but the old lady is shocked by this revelation. Phil and their lady friend are attacked by the North agents and left for dead. They are not dead, and Phil is with Fury. The old lady tells Natasha that the Red Room made a deodorant that forces the Black Widows to obey the people who wear it, and Fury stole it and used it to coerce Natasha to join S.H.I.E.L.D., which rightly pisses Natasha off. Natasha then beats up the North agents and goes after their employer, some old Russian guy, who she beats by having him break her nose so she can't smell the deodorant. Dear Lord. Unfortunately, the lady friend is still missing, even though I thought Nat saved her from the North agents, but big cliffhanger, meaning that the next mini and this mini should really have been the same maxi series, but whatever. Overall, the feminist undertones ran throughout the entire series, but the stuff at the end with the deodorant really came across as forced and stupid, but I don't know, I'm not the intended audience, I guess. The rest of the plot also kind of fell apart, with the head of Gynacon having to kill the Black Widows because they already have the mind control perfume he wants to put out, and then Natasha fights a villain I don't care about for the finale. This mini got worse as it went, in my opinion, which is really sad for such a strong start. The next mini, also 6 parts long and subtitled The Things They Say About Her, is Once Again by Morgan and Sienkiewicz, although at least they gave it a fancy name this time instead of just Black Widow again. The first issue sees Natasha still on the run after her last miniseries, with her searching for her kidnapped friend named Sally Ann, while being hunted by the North Lady Kestrel and the military dude she drugged last time, Martin. Natasha ends up in Cuba where she gets hired by Yelena, now a rich crime boss who does lingerie shoots to get people out of drug rings. She sends Natasha to steal some medicine from some guys in Miami, and although she succeeds, she finds they have Medusagen, making Natasha strike off on her own again. Natasha hunts down a Miami crime lord named Bobby, who she kidnaps and tries to interrogate. As it turns out, he took Sally Ann someplace secure for an unknown reason. Fury teams up with Daredevil to track Natasha down, and they save her from getting shot by Kestrel and Martin. Daredevil confronts Natasha about her recent mean streak, but Natasha tells him that it's political and that he should stay out of it. Fury gets captured off panel by North and violently interrogated by Martin, although he gives nothing. Meanwhile, Sally Ann is trapped in a secure prison due to a perceived connection to the Black Widow program, and she makes a friend in the cleaning girl. Natasha learns about the location and sets off to get Sally Ann. Part 4 sees Natasha break into the facility where the kidnapped girls are drugged to become the perfect workforce. Natasha manages to get Sally Ann out of the facility and kill some dudes, but gets captured herself. Meanwhile, Daredevil goes after her with Yelena, while Bobby's friends ruminate about his disappearance and find someone to track him down and bring him back. Part 5 is the psychological torture of Natasha by Kestrel and Martin, mirroring Natasha's torture of Martin in the last mini. Natasha faces herself as a Black Widow and the haunted images of her parents before resisting the serum enough to gain her composure. Unfortunately for her, Kestrel has recaptured Sally Ann and brought her in for the final cliffhanger. Fortunately for Natasha, Sally Ann was actually a decoy used by Yelena and Matt to get into the facility, and they kick everyone's butts. Natasha goes off and kills Martin and Kestrel, then orders Yelena to get all the captured girls someplace safe. Bobby unfortunately died in the crossfire, but his friends never show up. The series ends with Natasha and Matt as wanted criminals, although the general situation is resolved. Some plot threads were still left somewhat open, such as Fury's fate and the purpose of the Medusagen, but it's largely satisfying overall, especially as a sequel to the previous mini. And now on to the rankings. This is based purely on my personal opinions of the series and as such reflects my personal preferences. The worst series by far was 2001's Black Widow, the sequel to the 1999 one. It just didn't have any oomph and felt like it was just recreating the themes of the first one with no real substance. The storyline was just weird and seemed very convoluted and forced, although the art fit the storyline quite well. Number 3 is the 2004 mini. This series is still a vast improvement over the 2001 mini, with a decently compelling storyline and ideas that all work together, even if it fell apart towards the end. The focus on Natasha's struggles between her normal life and spy life were interesting and really seemed to reflect a post-9/11 cynicism about capitalism and the lasting effects of the Cold War, as well as the feminist struggles of the time. Number 2 is the 1999 mini, which is a strong start to the Black Widow solo series. The idea of multiple Black Widows as a challenge to Natasha was interesting and well done, with Yelena serving nicely as a misguided foil, and Natasha gets to play a real hero in this story, which is something she doesn't do much in these stories, which lean hard into her as a spy versus her as a superhero. And the number 1 late 90s, early 2000s Black Widow series is, of course, the 2005 series, The Things They Say About Her. This series has a nice story that builds upon what came before. Although it was off to a rocky start in its first issue, the series quickly makes up for that with nice action, a decent through line about the politics of vengeance, and the culmination of all the stories that came before it. The ending is satisfying overall, while still open for future stories, and the art really suits the dark, twisted story. The series really ties together Natasha's two worlds, letting her be both a spy and a hero, and it makes for some really solid series that trumps everything that came before it. Hopefully the upcoming film can boast the same results. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you again for future content.